right, greetings everybody. Robin here from Courage is the Cure. It is the 4th of August 2025 and today we're going to be doing a special show about holding the line in Australia. They don't care about you. See you in a bit.
Strength of a woman world on her shoulders. Fight through the noise when the world gets colder. 832, got the grit, got the fire. Watch her rise, watch her come higher.
Alrighty everybody, Robin here from Courage is the Cure. Let me know if you can hear me. Today we're going to be talking about holding the line in Australia. Let me get to the comments. I am out and about, so you must let me know if you can hear me. It's quite difficult. Anyway, so where do we start with today's special show? I'm on location somewhere. I'm not going to disclose where I am. There's a lot of things that the Australian government is telling us that we should care about. Great, I can only see one comment, and that's because I'm on my phone, so comments aren't going to pop up today because I can't get them. No, I can't. Anyway, all right, so there's a lot of things that the government is telling us to care about at the moment. And, you know, they could be things like Israel, they could be things like Palestine, they could be things like Ukraine. And I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I'm interested in Australians. And one of the things that we hear all the time is that COVID is over and to get over it. Get on with your life. It's finished, right? Well, I just want to maybe get everyone watching to have a little bit of a think about COVID relics. And around where you live, I know in some shopping centres they still have the circles, the social distancing circles. Remember those guidelines that Fauci spewed across the world? And I have to be careful because I am streaming to YouTube today. And we found out that that was not based on health advice. The same with former Premier, Dictator Dan, about curfews and lockdowns was not based on health advice. But anyway, the circles. Do you still have circles at some shopping malls or petrol stations where you live? One of these relics of COVID? How about their hand washing signs? Do you still see some of those around in 2025? Another relic of COVID? Masks. We sure know that there's a lot of people still wearing masks. Another relic of COVID. How about the teddy bears? Does anybody remember the idea, and it wasn't just strictly in Australia, it was around the world, where people would tie teddy bears to their front gate or their post box so that kids on lockdown when they were driven around in the car because all the parks and the swings were locked up. The kids would play spot and look for these teddy bears. Do you still see some of those teddy bears around on people's front gates? I do. Another relic of COVID, a living relic of COVID that I'm standing in front of is a story that I want to tell you that the people who own this living relic of COVID have given me permission to tell you all. I'm standing in front of a sea container. This sea container belongs to a family here in Western Australia. For privacy reasons, obviously, I'm not going to say who they are, just like I'm not going to say where I am. But this is somebody's living COVID story. And COVID is not over for this family. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Independent media, wonderful independent media, for years now have had wonderful people on their streams, just like I have on my show, Relentless. Doctors, nurses, ambos, fireys, that refuse to comply with the mandates. And of course, we also hear, we've got a beautiful bee right in front of the camera. Of course, we also hear stories from I wish I could show you comments, but there's just not enough space on my phone. We also hear stories or experiences, I don't like that word story, from people who've been injured or bereaved families. But the group of people I want to talk about in relation to this container is the group of people who have been forgotten about. The group of people who held the line during the mandates and refused to comply. We don't hear from those people. We very rarely hear interviews from people who held the line, the sacrifices they made, the consequences of their choices, as all of our previous premiers would like to say. The heroes we often see are the medical professionals, the nurses, the ambos, the fireys who refuse to comply. What about the everyday Australian? The everyday Australian who said no, whose moral compass was fully functioning, who decided to go with their morals, their ethics, their health, their family, their children's future, the everyday Australian. We don't hear from those people very often. And I know people in the audience, even though I can't see your comments, but I know that there's a whole big bunch of you across Australia and across the world that held the line, and all of your lives are still being affected to this day. And yet you still get told COVID's over, get over it. Well, I'm standing in front of one of the living relics of a family who did not comply. So this container is filled with a family's belongings. when Mark McGowan in Western Australia decided to mandate the spicy needles, family whose belongings is in this container decided that they would not. And it wasn't just one of the married couple, it was both. So when you have two people that lose their livelihood, it has enormous effects and still does. So if we remember during the mandates, people's working hours were restricted. And I remember my private health insurance company reduced their rate, and they also gave me some money back because they were understanding the difficulties of the pandemic. And if you remember, people that rented a house, they weren't allowed to increase the rent for a certain period of time. But eventually, landlords were allowed to increase the rent again. And we saw huge increases. When Australia was reopened to the world, let's not forget we're an island nation, especially in Western Australia where I'm from, we had some of the hardest border lockdowns globally in Western Australia. Our government also decided that they needed to catch up with immigrants being able to move to Australia. So not only did we have landlords increasing the rent by exorbitant amounts of money, we also had an influx of immigrants arriving in Australia, which puts pressure and continues to put pressure on housing availability. So the family whose belongings is behind me in this container, it wasn't just once they had to move as a result of the mandates. It was a number of times. And the last time they had to move, there was a very real possibility of this family being homeless. Husband, wife, child, homeless. Their story isn't isolated. It is not isolated at all. I can count on two hands how many people I know in this situation. It's actually more. So this family were very lucky to be able to be in contact with a fellow freedom fighter who was able to offer them accommodation this most recent time that they had to move again. Unfortunately, it's a one-bedroom apartment. If you think about a family with a child trying to cram their life into a one-bedroom city apartment, it's not possible. So, trying to sell what they could, trying to give away what they could, taking what they could to op shops. Obviously, there's still items that every family wants to keep, items that children want to keep. So behind me is a container full of this family's life. I want to show you something else. And this is, I don't know what this says, but it says something. That when all the items in this container needed to make it up to the place where I'm standing, they needed a truck. They needed a truck to bring it up here. So the truck that brought it up here, and you're not going to believe it, is a COVID truck. This is the truck that brought all of those things up to the container. So when I hear that sentence, COVID's over, get over it, I just want to take my hat off to every single person that held the line, chose to politely refuse the invitation to participate in an experiment. And I take my hat off to every single person, every single family that are a living relic of COVID. You are still living. With the outcome of not complying, of maintaining your moral compass. So we already know that our politicians don't care. We know that our Prime Minister doesn't care. We know that our former premiers, who are in positions of power at the time, when they invited everybody to participate in an experiment, they don't care. They don't care that people's lives are in containers that have been moved around on a COVID truck, warning people about the risks. We know they don't care. But we do. Every single person that refused to comply, the everyday Australian. You might not work in a hospital. You may not be a nurse and be praised for refusing to comply. And like our fireys and volunteers in some states still not being able to go back to work, you might not get the praise like they do, but you can guarantee that there's people like me, there's people in the audience that say you guys are the heroes. You are the everyday heroes, the real Australians who decided the cost of not complying was worth it. And every day that these things sit here in this container, it's so distressing for the family. It's so distressing for the child. The mum told me that when they came up to organise the container, the child had asked her mum, "Could you find this for me? Could you find that for me?" I think of that nearly every day. So our politicians might not care, our governments don't care. The people in other countries who had their hands in this as well don't care. But the rest of us Australians and the rest of the people around the world who also held the line, who also maintained their moral compass, we all care. And I know we think about each other. And I just want to acknowledge all of you and this family for allowing me to film this and tell the story. We have so many more heroes in this country than we're told by the corporate media, than we're led to believe by our government, who says that we're awful, racist, hateful people all the time. No, we're not. No, we're not. I know a lot of superheroes in my life. Sure do. So this is the first instalment of the Relics of COVID. I take my hat off to all of you that said no and that are still living with the outcome of that, because we all know it's not over. And yeah, I sure do know a lot of superheroes, that's for sure. So couldn't make it up, hey? This COVID truck, it's just astounding. Again, I want to thank the family for letting me tell this story. And if you know some superheroes like I do, make sure you let them know that that's what they are and that we acknowledge what they've done. It's amazing. Alrighty, everybody. That's the special report, holding the line. They don't care about you. Those disgusting, awful people. But that doesn't matter because we have all of us, don't we? Make sure you go and tell your fellow superhero that they're amazing, fantabulous human beings. All right, everyone. That's it from Courage is the Cure for today, and I will see you all soon. See ya.